things in gloves and wrote poetry. He was rattling on like this when he was 14 and 15. The difference is nobody was listening at 14 and 15. 10 years later, the entire world's media was listening, but there was no difference.
Well, he won 6 Kentucky Gold Gloves, which really gives you an indication of how good he was as an amateur boxer, because American amateur boxing at that time was a very, very hard school. But Ali quickly adapted to the sport and made a real impression, and he got $4 a fight, which was nothing compared to what he got when he was a professional in his later career.
Having experienced huge success in his early amateur career, Ali earned the right to represent his country at the 1960 Olympic Games in Rome. This was when the world started to take note of Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali in later life seemed scared of absolutely nothing. When he was a youngster, he had a real fear of flying, so he almost didn't make it to the 1960 Olympics because it was a long flight. Throughout the whole flight, he actually took his own parachute on board, and he spent the whole flight on his knees praying in the aisles. But eventually he got there, and of course he ended up walking away with a gold medal. The European media, who hadn't really heard of this guy, Cassius Clay, suddenly became aware of this very, very stylish boxer.
Cassius Clay was selected for the Rome Olympics. Apparently they had a real battle to get him on the plane in the first place because he had a fear of flying. I mean, the guy fought all the top heavyweights of his era and showed no fear at all. But apparently he was praying in the aisle of the plane. He arrives in Rome, where obviously he goes and wins a gold medal.
Well, Ali was only 18, but he was far from a callow youth in the Olympic Games. The journalists who were there covering it, many of whom had never heard of Cassius Clay, were quick to praise him for his supreme confidence. And 6 years after somebody stole his bike in Kentucky, he was the Olympic champion.
He just ploughed his way through with a display and a show of boxing that shocked people. Coaches from Poland and Russia, they'd never seen that before. And suddenly there was an 18-year-old kid doing it to their boxers, European champions, Olympic champions, veterans of the amateur circuit, making them look like they were statues. That was quality.
After his Olympic success, Ali returned back to the USA as a national hero. But to some people, he was just another black man who they wanted nothing to do with.
Well, after the Olympics, Ali, all their gold medalists, and Ali was central to that.
He won a gold medal in the Rome Olympics and returns home to the US, his home country. He's represented the whole country and brought home a gold medal. He found it very difficult to understand and to relate to the political and the social environment that was going on in America. Vast sections of society just saw him as a black guy and wanted nothing to do with him.
But once the Olympics had moved on and memories faded, in the eyes of many people, he became just another black person on the streets. And of course, at that time in America, segregation was a real issue. And Ali and a friend went into what was then a whites-only restaurant in Kentucky, his home city, and he was refused service, and that made Ali really angry. And it was claimed at the time he actually took his gold medal and threw it into the Ohio River because he believed it was worth nothing, because even though he had been praised greatly for it by the American sporting public, once he came home, of course, it was worthless.
He arrived home to Louisville and he was given a good reception. He chose to go with a friend of his to a biker's bar. The waitress serving him said, look, it's going to be a problem, you should best leave. He sat down, nodded to one of the bikers who he'd seen at some of his fights, overcomes the boss man. Now you've got this guy in your mind's eye. He's a fat white guy covered in bacon grease, and he stands in front of Ali and says to Ali, we don't serve niggers in here. Now Ali said, that's good because I don't eat them.
After his achievements at the 1960 Olympics, Ali went on to sign his first professional contract with the Louisville Sporting Group.
So he wins the gold medal in the Olympics and he signs a contract with a consortium from Louisville called the Louisville Sporting Group, and they set out to finance his career.
Well, after Ali returned from Rome with the Olympic gold medal, he was always going to be hot property in the American professional ranks, and the Louisville sponsoring group paid $100,000 to sign him up to a professional contract. Now, of course, that pales into insignificance when you consider how much money boxers get paid now, but in the Ali and his family must have believed he was made, but Ali was always somebody of generous spirit, and the first thing he did when he got his money was go out and buy his mother Odessa a pink Cadillac.
He gets his paycheck. I think his managers would have been probably pulling their hair out at that, but that was Mohammed. He was his own man, and he followed his own path, and it was a pink Cadillac that he wanted. That's what he got.
He went with 10 businessmen, 10 local millionaires. They threw the money in the kitty and then they started to promote him. They got him started. That gave him the stability, and what that really did is that allowed him to pay off the heavy mortgage on the family home that his father had.
So he was keen to share the money around, but with that money and with his status as a professional, many people believe that Ali had really arrived as a boxer.
Cassius Clay of Chicago challenges getting his first professional contract. Ali managed to persuade legendary...
Well, I first came across a very young Cassius Clay in the late 1950s when Ali was building up his amateur career.
Because of the moment, he picks him as his trainer. Dundee had brought through some great fighters and got good results, so he had faith in him.
Champion Willie Pastrana. And
He did agree to speak to him when he signed as a professional, but he thought he was mad. He'd seen all of the work. Once he met Ali, he really...
Instilling confidence and instilling his work ethic.